In nature, titanium is trapped within dark minerals, mixed with oxygen, iron, sand, clays, and other elements that chemically bind it together. Although it is one of the most abundant elements in the Earth's crust, converting it into a useful metal requires a complex, expensive, and extremely controlled industrial process. This is why titanium is not produced like iron, nor is it simply melted like other common metals. Its manufacture requires mining, mineral separation, chlorination, chemical reduction, vacuum distillation, crushing, pressing, smelting, and very strict quality controls. Each stage aims for the same goal: to obtain a lightweight, strong, pure, and corrosion-resistant metal. The end result appears in parts that withstand supersonic speeds, marine environments, implants within the human body, and machinery where a failure can cost millions. Titanium production begins long before it reaches a metallurgical plant. It starts in deposits where titanium is present within minerals such as ilmenite and rutile. Ilmenite contains titanium, iron, and oxygen. Rutile is a richer form of titanium dioxide. Both minerals are commonly found in heavy sands, coastal deposits, ancient seabeds, or geological formations where millions of years of erosion concentrate dense grains alongside other minerals like zircon, monazite, and magnetite. In many operations, extraction takes place in mineral sand deposits. The goal here is not to find a shiny metallic vein, but rather a mixture of seemingly ordinary sand with a heavy fraction laden with valuable minerals. Large excavators, dredges, or pumping systems move the material and send it to concentration plants. The initial objective is not to obtain metallic titanium, but to separate the titanium-bearing minerals from the rest of the sand. The first stage is usually a physical separation. The extracted material passes through screens, cyclones, spiral concentrators, and gravity tables. These machines take advantage of a fundamental difference. Titanium minerals are denser than quartz sand. When the mixture is moved with water through spiral channels, the heavier grains tend to settle to a different area than the lighter grains. This results in a much richer mineral concentrate, while the discarded sand is either returned to the system or managed as controlled waste. Next comes a more precise stage: magnetic and electrostatic separation. Ilmenite responds differently to magnetic fields than other minerals, while rutile can be separated by its surface electrical properties. In modern plants, the dried grains pass through magnetic rollers, high-voltage separators, and sorting systems that divide the material according to its composition. The result is a concentrate of ilmenite or rutile with sufficient purity to enter subsequent chemical processes. This phase seems simple compared to what comes next, but it is crucial. If the concentrate arrives contaminated with too many unwanted minerals, the chemical process becomes more expensive, consumes more reagents, and generates more waste. This is why titanium production depends on highly controlled mining, where every ton of sand is analyzed, sorted, and processed with precision. Titanium can also come from hard rock deposits. In that case, the operation is more like a traditional mine. Drilling takes place, the rock is fragmented with explosives, the ore is loaded onto giant trucks, and it is crushed in industrial mills. The material passes through primary crushers, ball mills, and flotation or magnetic separation systems. Unlike mineral sands, hard rock requires more energy to release the titanium minerals trapped within the rock matrix. Once the concentrate is obtained, the ore is still far from being metal. Ilmenite, for example, contains a lot of iron, and that iron must be removed or reduced before further processing. In some cases, ilmenite is transformed into a richer raw material known as titanium slag or synthetic rutile. To produce titanium slag, ilmenite is fed into high-temperature electric furnaces along with reducing agents. The iron is separated in metallic form or as a different compound, while the titanium is concentrated in a titanium dioxide-rich phase. Natural rutile, with its higher titanium dioxide content, can be processed with less prior transformation, but even rutile requires cleaning, drying, and chemical control. The titanium industry does not tolerate excessive impurities because elements such as oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, iron, or hydrogen can alter the final properties of the metal. A minimal amount of contamination can make it more brittle, less ductile, or unsuitable for critical applications. At this early stage, titanium still doesn't resemble the shiny material of an aerospace component. It is a dark, reddish or blackish mineral powder, heavy, abrasive, and chemically stable. Its strength as an element is also its problem. It binds to oxygen so intensely that it cannot be released by simple methods. While iron can be extracted from its ores through reduction in blast furnaces, titanium requires a much more delicate process. If an attempt is made to heat it conventionally, it reacts with oxygen, nitrogen, or carbon in the environment, and the final product loses quality. The central stage in the production of metallic titanium is the Kroll process. This method dominates the industry because it yields high-purity titanium, although it is slow, expensive, and technically demanding. Its logic is based on an indirect idea. Since titanium is strongly bonded to oxygen, titanium oxide is first converted into titanium tetrachloride, a chemical compound that can then be reduced with magnesium to release the metal. Rutile concentrate, synthetic rutile, or titanium-rich slag is fed into a chlorination reactor, along with carbon, usually in the form of coke, and chlorine gas. At elevated temperatures, the titanium dioxide reacts to form titanium tetrachloride, known as TiCl4. This compound is liquid at room temperature but highly reactive. In contact with atmospheric moisture, it produces white vapors of hydrochloric acid and hydrated titanium oxides. Therefore, it is handled in closed systems, sealed pipes, controlled atmospheres, and corrosion-resistant equipment. Chlorination does not produce only titanium tetrachloride. It also produces chlorides of iron, vanadium, silicon, and other elements present in the ore. Therefore, crude TiCl4 must be purified. It undergoes fractional distillation and chemical treatments that separate unwanted compounds based on their boiling points and reactivity. This purification is essential because the final titanium inherits any impurities present during the reduction process. For aerospace or medical applications, the margin of error is minimal. Once the titanium tetrachloride is purified, the reduction process begins. Liquid magnesium is introduced into a sealed steel reactor, and an inert atmosphere, usually argon, is maintained to prevent the entry of oxygen and nitrogen. Then, TiCl4 is carefully fed in. The chemical reaction is intense. The magnesium removes the chlorine from the titanium tetrachloride, leaving metallic titanium along with magnesium chloride. The titanium does not emerge as a perfect liquid ingot. It appears as a porous, irregular, grayish mass called titanium sponge. The name sponge aptly describes its appearance. The metal grows inside the reactor as a porous structure, mixed with salts and magnesium remnants. It is not a solid piece or a uniform powder, but a brittle block contaminated with reaction byproducts. To convert it into usable material, it must be separated from the trapped salts. This separation is carried out by vacuum distillation or leaching, depending on the process. In vacuum distillation, the reactor is heated under low pressure to evaporate the magnesium and magnesium chloride, which are recovered and can be recycled. This stage is energy and time-consuming. Unlike continuous steel production, the Kroll process operates in batches. The reactor is loaded, the reaction takes place, it is cooled, opened, the sponge is removed, the system is cleaned, and the process begins again. This batch nature explains some of titanium's high cost. It is not produced in huge liquid streams like iron or aluminum, but in controlled cycles where each batch must be verified. The purified sponge is crushed, sorted, and analyzed. Its oxygen, nitrogen, iron, chlorine, magnesium, and other elements are checked. Some fractions can be used to produce commercially pure titanium, while others are mixed with alloying elements. One of the most well-known grades is Ti6Al4V, an alloy with aluminum and vanadium widely used in aerospace, medical implants, high-performance components, and parts subjected to severe loads. The exact composition depends on the end use. Pure titanium is highly resistant to corrosion, but alloys improve its mechanical strength and performance at high temperatures. This part of the process reveals another characteristic of titanium. It is strong, but delicate during manufacturing. At high temperatures, it readily absorbs gases. Oxygen can overharden it and reduce its ductility. Nitrogen can make it brittle. Hydrogen can cause internal problems. For this reason, operations are carried out under vacuum, argon, or controlled atmospheres. Industrial cleanliness is not a minor detail, but a prerequisite for the metal to retain its properties. Titanium sponge is already metallic titanium, but it's not yet suitable for manufacturing a turbine, a surgical plate, or an aircraft structure. It must be transformed into a homogeneous solid. To achieve this, it is pressed into electrodes or compacted together with selected titanium scrap and alloying elements. It is then melted in special furnaces. One of the most widely used methods is vacuum arc melting. In this system, a titanium electrode is melted inside an evacuated chamber without contact with air, and the molten metal falls into a cooled copper mold where it solidifies into an ingot. Often, the ingot is melted more than once. Double or triple melting helps to homogenize the composition, eliminate defects, and better distribute the alloying elements. In critical applications, even a small internal defect can be unacceptable. An aerospace part made of titanium cannot have inclusions, hidden cracks, or areas with irregular composition. That's why metallurgical control is so strict. When titanium emerges from the furnace as an ingot, its journey is not yet complete. That shiny, compact block of metal must be transformed into plates, bars, tubes, wires, forgings, or components of complex geometry. Secondary manufacturing is as important as extraction because it defines the metal's internal structure and, consequently, its final strength. The titanium ingot is heated in controlled furnaces and undergoes forging, rolling, or extrusion processes. In forging, enormous presses deform the metal under high temperature to close pores, orient the microstructure, and improve its strength. In rolling, the ingot is progressively reduced in size to form plates or sheets. In extrusion, the material is forced through dies to create bars, profiles, or tubes. Each step requires precise temperatures because titanium changes its crystalline structure depending on the heat applied. Unlike more common metals, titanium is highly unforgiving of thermal errors. If it's heated improperly, cooled incorrectly, or contaminated during processing, it can lose ductility or develop internal stresses. That's why plants use controlled atmosphere furnaces, continuous temperature monitoring, and subsequent heat treatments. Annealing, stress relieving, and aging allow for fine-tuning the combination of strength, toughness, and dimensional stability. Then comes machining. Here, another challenge arises. Titanium is difficult to cut. It has low thermal conductivity, meaning the heat generated by the tool doesn't easily dissipate into the workpiece. It concentrates in the cutting zone and puts excessive stress on the tools. Furthermore, titanium tends to react with certain materials at high temperatures, can cause rapid wear, and requires high speeds, cooling, and specialized tooling. Therefore, manufacturing a titanium part costs not only for the metal itself, but also for machining hours, tool wear, and dimensional control. In the aerospace industry, titanium is used where every gram matters and every part must withstand extreme stress. It appears in landing gear, compressor discs, turbine blades, internal structures, specialized fasteners, and areas near engines. Its specific strength, the ratio of strength to weight, makes it ideal for airplanes and spacecraft. It doesn't always replace aluminum or steel. It's used where its advantages justify its cost. In an aircraft, saving weight means consuming less fuel, increasing range, or improving performance. In marine environments, titanium stands out for its corrosion resistance. When exposed to oxygen, it forms a very thin, adherent, and stable surface film of titanium oxide. This layer protects the metal from many chemical attacks and regenerates if damaged. That's why it's used in heat exchangers, desalination plants, naval equipment, underwater components, and systems exposed to saltwater. While other metals oxidize, pit, or degrade, titanium can remain stable for years. In medicine, its value is even more significant. Titanium is biocompatible, strong, and relatively lightweight. It is used in dental implants, bone plates, surgical screws, joint prostheses, and components that remain inside the human body. Its surface allows for good integration with bone, especially when treated or textured to promote osseointegration. In this field, purity and quality control are paramount. An implant cannot contain hazardous contaminants or internal defects. Modern manufacturing also incorporates 3D printing with titanium. In this process, fine titanium powders or alloys are melted layer by layer using lasers or electron beams. This allows for the creation of geometries that would be nearly impossible with traditional methods: porous structures for implants, lightweight parts with internal channels, optimized aerospace supports, and components with less material waste. However, titanium powder demands careful handling because the fine particles can be reactive and require controlled atmospheres to prevent oxidation or the risk of combustion. After manufacturing, each part undergoes inspections: ultrasound, industrial radiography, penetrant testing, dimensional measurements, mechanical testing, and metallographic analysis are all used. In critical sectors, complete traceability is recorded: which sponge batch the metal comes from, how many times it was melted, its composition, what heat treatments it received, and what tests it passed. Titanium isn't sold just as a material, it's sold as certified reliability. The paradox of titanium is that it combines an almost futuristic image with a production process that remains complex and demanding. For decades, alternative methods have been investigated to make it cheaper, more continuous, and less energy-intensive. Electrochemical routes and emerging processes exist that aim to directly reduce titanium oxides without going through so many steps. Even so, dominant industrial production continues to rely on the core principle of the Kroll process because it offers purity and reliability that are difficult to replace on a large scale. The secret of titanium lies in the invisible chain that transforms it from mineral sand into a critical component. First, it is separated from natural deposits using gravity, magnetism, and electricity. Then, it is chemically transformed into titanium tetrachloride. Next, it is reduced with magnesium to form a metallic sponge. Later, it is purified, crushed, blended, vacuum melted, and cast into ingots. Finally, it is forged, rolled, machined, inspected, and certified. This is why titanium holds a special place among modern metals. It is not the hardest in every application, nor the cheapest, nor the easiest to work with. Its true strength lies in its balance. It weighs significantly less than steel, withstands environments where other metals fail, and maintains useful properties in applications where weight, corrosion, and safety are paramount. Every titanium component carries with it an industrial history of extreme chemistry, sealed furnaces, vacuum, precision, and absolute control. The metal that ends up in an airplane, a spacecraft, a prosthesis, or a marine plant begins as a dark mineral mixed with sand. Its transformation requires breaking very stable chemical bonds, protecting it from air, purifying it repeatedly, and shaping it without destroying its properties. This difficulty explains its price, but also its value. Titanium is extraordinary not only for what it can withstand, but for everything it must undergo before becoming a